And I'm going to guide you through making Hamentaschen. And when Ellen asked me if I would do this several months ago, I thought, sure, I can do that. And then I started thinking, I hadn't made Hamentaschen in a couple of years. And I went to the recipe that I had, and I'll tell you the truth, I never really liked it much. So then I started looking at things on the internet. And I tried a couple of different recipes, and I was like, well, this one's okay. But I found one that I had all butter in it. And I thought, well, this sounds like it would taste really good. Well, my cookies don't hold together. Let me just kind of show you because I have some of those.
That's funny.
And they look okay, but they kind of flattened out. So here's an example. You see, they kind of flattened out. And they were okay, they taste good, but
Great.
I wanted something that had a little more that would hold the Hamentaschen shape a little better. So I tried several recipes, and I started myself. So here we go. So this one I liked. I ended up. I liked the way that one looked and how it felt. So what I started with, let me sit back down so you can see me. So what I found this recipe that basically, actually it was a vegan recipe, which was good because then I can, my son and his partner, they're both vegan. So they were able to eat all of those. And I liked it, but it was a little bit crumbly. The dough was a little crumbly. So I thought, well, that's a good one to tweak. So the Hamentaschen recipe I have is one after several different trials. This is what I came up with because I like the way it tasted. I like the way the dough held together. And so this is what I'm going to share with you. And if you've got there was a link in the meeting, and I'm just going to go over the recipe just a little bit, and then we're going to start putting it together so you can see what it looks like. So this recipe, you use 2.5 cups of flour, 4 ounces of vegetable shortening, a stick of butter, a 1/2 cup of sugar, a teaspoon of salt, tablespoon of vanilla extract, 1 egg, a 1/2 cup of pineapple juice, which is kind of odd, but it works really well, and then the zest of 1 lemon. And then fillings, whatever fillings you like, and fruit preserves or jam work really well. Nutella, you can use Nutella. We're also going to make some homemade apple and poppy seed fillings separately, and so we'll get to that. So what I'm going to do, Tim's going to be the camera person. So hold on, Tim, so you can see it.
You just tell me where you want me to point it.
Okay. So I'm over here. You need to put it up here. I'm over here at the mixer. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to take and I'm going to cream my butter and my shortening and sugar together. So, in fact, I'll just put it here so you can see what we're putting in there. I found out with the Crisco shortening, I weighed it out, and what I found was on the Crisco, here, Tim, on the Crisco shortening, it's divided out in tablespoons and cups, and I found that if you used 1 cup plus 1 tablespoon, that would give you right at 4 ounces of shortening. So we're going to use that.
Oh, Lori.
Yes.
I thought you meant we're supposed to use butter and the shortening.
We're going to use butter and shortening.
Oh, okay.
So see, I got butter in there and I got shortening. I tried it all shortening, I didn't like it. I tried it all butter, I didn't like it. So we're going to go with mixture because that was the one I felt like gave me the best taste.
Well, hopefully my vegetable oil didn't make it too oily because right now it looks.
Yeah, I tried one with vegetable oil and I just thought the cookies were tough.
Oh.
Okay, so the next thing I'm gonna do is, I'm gonna add the zest of one lemon, because one of the things I've read is that if you, add your zest to your fats, you get a much better, zest flavor. And thought, well, why not? So you just use a little hand zester and go to town.
Well, citrus oil is probably dissolved in the fats.
Yeah.
better, so they spreads the flavor out.
Okay. And so I've got my fats, and then I'm going to add my sugar, which was a half a cup of sugar. I have a teaspoon of salt that I've already measured out. And then a tablespoon of vanilla flavoring. All right, so we're gonna put this on the mixer and we're gonna cream it. So this, there we go. And you can use a hand mixer. You can do it by hand if you really want to, but I prefer using the mixer because to me it's easier. So we'll turn it on.
Camera angle is excellent, by the way.
And if you can kind of see, it looks kind of like this. We'll scrape down the sides and the beaters a little bit. And now I'm going to add my egg. So and this is why I didn't do it directly in the bowl, because I always drop something. And we're going to add this and we're going to beat this until the eggs incorporate it, and it should get fluffy. I'm just going to scrape down the sides a little bit and beat it a little more. Okay, and I don't, let's see, can you see it looks it's a little bit fluffier than it was with just the fat and sugar. And now we're going to add a half a cup of pineapple juice to kind of loosen it up just a little bit.
Lori, I didn't have pineapple juice at home, so I subbed with grapefruit juice.
That should work. Orange juice probably would work as well.
Yeah, I guess I didn't want some, well, yeah, acidity either way.
Right.
Wanted the grapefruit flavor.
And okay, so there's a half a cup of pineapple juice. Yes. And in the normal circumstances, I would mix it a little more to incorporate the pineapple juice a little more. But since we're here demonstrating, I'm gonna go ahead and add the flour. So at this point, I've got basically my mixture of pineapple juice and fats and sugar and my flavors. And so we're ready to add the flour. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to add in about half of the flour. I'd already measured it out. And I'm going to add in about half the flour and get it incorporated, and then we'll add the rest.
Boy, that's handy. I don't have one of those.
And you see it starts all coming together. Let's pull some out. So like this, still a little soft. So we'll go ahead and add the rest of the flour. Scrape the beaters down just a little bit so to make sure we get everything all incorporated. And then we're almost done with making the dough. Come on. And okay, so can you hold it? Can you show it? Okay. All right, so we've got our dough, and you just at this point in time, you're going to want to take it and put it on a piece of parchment and make it kind of like a disc. I usually put it in a plastic bag as well and stick it in the refrigerator for several hours. One thing, it allows the flavoring in your dough to incorporate, and it just makes it a little bit easier to handle, because at this point in time it's really, really sticky. But
Lori, I've got a question.
yeah, sure.
So I made mine today. I put it in the fridge at 3 o'clock. And I took it out at 6:30. And it seems like it seems softer and a little more oily than yours.
That's okay. We're going to address that.
Okay. Excellent.
Okay. So what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to scrape the flour out onto a piece of parchment. And this one will go in the fridge. And I have another one that I've already made. But you'll see the dough is pretty soft, and that's okay. Because what we will do is when we get ready to roll it out, we're going to add a little bit of flour in it to make it a little firmer texture. All right, so I've done that. Get the last of this. Okay, so you have just a big old pile of dough like this. And I'm going to smash it down a little bit. And I just take the parchment, fold it over the top. And put it in a baggie and put it in the refrigerator. So Tim, you'll just take this and put it over there. Okay. So we're gonna roll out a Hamentaschen in just a few minutes. But right now we're gonna make a couple of fillings. You know, jams are really nice to use. Tim, don't worry about that. Can you fix the camera so that we can see it? Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is we're going to make an apple filling. It's real easy to make. Just get all my pieces of things that we need. And I'm just going to take a piece of paper, parchment, so I got a place to put my filling. So the first thing I do, you can take apples, whichever kind you like. I think this was a jazz. One of them's a jazz, and one of them's
Golden Delicious, I think.
gold. No, what is it? The ginger gold. Yeah, I believe that's what it is. So anyway, you just want to get your, your apple peels off. And for me, this is a quicker way of doing it than trying to peel it with a knife. That one there. So basically, you can use any apple that you enjoy eating. There's so we'll get there. And of course, when I do this, things go everywhere. I just am not a neat cook. All right. Got that. There we go. We're almost there. Okay, so I have 2 peeled apples.
I will say one of the things we really enjoyed up here is the fact that there's such an enormous variety of apples available.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, we did when we lived in Texas for years, and you just don't quite have the same variety as you do here. And then what I found is that when you make this filling, you do want to make sure that you want to cut your apple pieces really small, because if you don't, then they're too big to fit well into your Hamentaschen. Tim, can you give me that gray one? So and basically when I do this, I just do kind of like matchstick kind of size. So they're about like this. It's not huge. Probably should have cut both of these. I should have had one of these cut up ahead of time. All right. Okay. So what I do is I've got my 2 apples in my pan. I'm going to take a tablespoon of butter. And the first thing I'm going to do before I add the butter is I'm going to add, I've got a tablespoon of cornstarch. And I just want to mix it up with my apples to kind of coat them. So, and then I have 2 tablespoons of brown sugar. Just a pinch of cardamom and a half teaspoon of cinnamon. Oops, this one wasn't open yet. Now it is. And I just mix all this together. Add my couple of slices of my tablespoon of butter, and then I'm going to have a couple of tablespoons of water. Tim's bring it off the stove. So can you see?
Yes.
Okay. So all you do is just turn the heat up, let your butter melt.
I have a question. What kind of starch is in there?
Cornstarch.
Cornstarch. Okay.
Mm-hmm. And if you don't like to use cornstarch, you could use tapioca starch. You probably could even use regular flour, but you want something that's going to thicken it. And anyway, you just take this, and it cooks in about 10 minutes. But right now this is just kind of the steps you go through. So Tim, if you can
Monitor this.
monitor that while we go to the poppy seed. So I don't know if any of you have ever made homemade poppy seed filling before. I know some people like it, some people don't. Even my quarter cup measure. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to put together a half recipe of the poppy seed filling. And so Tim, actually, you can turn that, you can just turn it down really low or turn it off.
Yes, filling the grid.
Yeah, you can pull it out. Okay, so for poppy seed filling, I'm going to make half of the recipe rather than the whole one. Tim, can you?
Oh.
Okay, so I'm basically going to take a half a cup of poppy seeds. And you put them in a grinder because you don't want to leave them whole. You want them to be pulverized so that they absorb the liquid much better. So there we go. That's a quarter cup. And there's another quarter. Okay, so can you see how they've browned down and they're kind of fluffy looking? So to this, thank you. All right, so I know the recipe says heat your milk first and everything. No, we're gonna do it this way. It works just fine like this. So there's your ground poppy seeds. To that, I'm going to add a half a cup of milk. A quarter cup of sugar. I'm going to add some orange zest from about, I don't know, about half of the orange. And I have that old squeeze. Okay, so you're just going to take and you're going to just kind of mix up everything. And what I'm going to do here is take this and I'll put it on the stove. And I'm going to bring it to a boil, and then I'm turn it down to a low heat, so it's got time to absorb the liquid. And I'll show you a little of this, and I've already got some of this made. But I found with this poppy seed filling, if you make it the day before, your flavor is going to be much better than if you make it the same day, because then you've got time for the orange and the lemon and the liqueurs to flavor the poppy seeds. But anyway, you just cook this. Well, it gets to a boil. And then you turn it down, and then we'll add the rest of the stuff in just a moment. So Tim, why don't you put this back over here?
Mm-hmm.
I have the flavorings at the end. So Tim, if you can kind of keep an eye on this. Yeah, just turn it. Okay, so we've prepared a couple of fillings. I will show you what they look like. Tim, yeah, if you get the apples out, and I need to. Sorry. Not used to the cooking show. Okay, so this is, here's apple filling that I made. I made this yesterday, and it's thicker. You can see where it kind of all sticks. The cornstarch has thickened it, but it works really well in the Hamentaschen. And then here's my poppy seed filling that I made yesterday. And it just makes a nice thick filling to add to your Hamentaschen. Okay, so at this point, we're ready to start rolling out our Hamentaschen. I'm a big fan of parchment paper. Number one, it helps things not stick so much, and it makes it easier to clean. So the first thing I'm going to do is let me get my flour. And this is my Hamentaschen dough that I made earlier. So after it's sat, it's still a little soft. It's still a little on the sticky side. So if I cut it, you're gonna notice it sticks to my fingers, but that's okay. We're gonna take care of that. So the first thing I do is put a good bit of flour, flour my surface. And then I'm going to take one of these blocks of Hamentaschen dough, and I'll just put it there and add some more flour to it. And actually, I'm going to knead a little bit of flour into this, because if your dough's a little on the sticky side, if you add just a small amount of flour, it'll make it much easier to work, and it's much easier to add a little flour than it is to have to add the liquid. So I prefer to make it a little bit on the sticky side like this, and I'll add the flour as I get ready to roll it out. So see, I have a nice little flat disc. I'm going to put some more flour on the top and just kind of spread it around with my hands. And then I'll take my second piece of parchment paper and put it on the top, and I'm going to roll it out. And I recommend rolling them kind of thin. I prefer something that's maybe about 1/4 of an inch, or even a little bit thinner than that. Then what you'll do, okay. And then I should just be able to peel the parchment. Sometimes it feels sticky, and it is. It's all right. There we go. Okay, I got most of it. Right. And then I've got this 3-inch cookie cutter. You go someplace like Wegmans or something, they have all these in a package of multiple sizes, but I found that this is the easiest size for doing Hamentaschen. You can use one of those. Thanks. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to transfer my rounds to my baking sheet, and I like to put parchment on there because it keeps it from sticking. And this is my smaller baking sheet, so I can only get about 6 on this one. And you just gather your scraps back up and each dough a little bit. And just gonna make sure I've got enough flour on the bottom. And I'm gonna roll it out here. And just give me a little more. Okay, so I've got 6 Hamentaschen ready to go. Well, that's all we're gonna do at the moment. Okay, so so what you do is basically you cut out your, you roll out your dough and you cut out, so you've got the rounds, and then you're ready to add filling. And you can use any kind of filling that you enjoy. Let me wash my hands. Okay. What I'm going to do here is I'm going to put about a teaspoon of filling in the middle. You don't want to overfill, because if you overfill it, you'll just get ooze all over the place. But I'm going to make I'll make 2 poppy seed here. Well, I guess this one will have poppy seed since it fell over there. And I'll make an apple. Okay. You can use any kind of jam that you like. So this one is apricot. So what are your favorite fillings for Hamentaschen?
Habanero mango for me.
Ooh, that sounds good. My favorite is old-fashioned prune. And today I'm doing apple butter because I made it.
Okay, good for you.
Fran prefers chocolate.
Okay.
Ooh.
Naturally.
I don't have chocolate, but we're going to have some Nutella.
Good.
That always works well. So here's some Nutella in the middle of this one. And I'll do 2 Nutella. All righty. Okay, so you're ready to start the folding your Hamentaschen. So what I normally do is I just start. I do them all one side. Just fold it about a third. Cut it down. And then I turn my tray. And then I do another. And one thing I like about this dough is that it sticks to itself really well. So you don't have to use like an egg wash or anything to keep your corners closed. And I know you can do a over under fold, but I think in the scheme of things, this works just fine. All right, so we got a little hole. You can see our fillings. You can move them if you need to. They can be picked up, and then they all can be moved. And those are ready to get baked. Now, I use a convection oven. So what I do is I set my oven for 375. But because it's a convection oven, it automatically sets it to 350. And in there, and for my oven, I found that 14 minutes gives me just the right temperature and everything for the Hamentaschen. So these will be out in a few minutes, but in the meantime, anybody have any questions about making Hamentaschen, or any comments or things that you would like to share that maybe you've done and I haven't?
I followed your recipe, except I didn't have any pineapple juice either. And mine's kind of crumbly. Let me see. There they are. Oh, I'm sorry. I have to figure out how to take a picture. Here we go. They don't, I do have those extra pieces, but they don't, like, if I have to move them, they're kind of falling apart, Lori. What did I do wrong?
Okay, so what did you use in place of pineapple juice?
Lemon juice.
It might be too acidic.
Oh, see?
Because that's what pineapple juice, it's acidic, but it's also sweet.
Oh.
I didn't try it with other juices, but I have seen a similar recipe using orange juice, which would be sweet as well. So it may just be that the lemon juice is a little too acidic.
Oh, okay. It's of course you're not supposed to eat raw dough, but I did. It tasted very good.
Oh, I'm sure it did. I'm sure it was delicious. Lemon flavored things taste really well. Really good.
You want to mention your savory Hamentaschen?
Yes, I do. Okay. Ooh, okay. So I will share this recipe with you guys. I will send it. I'll send it to Ellen, and you can also you can send this one out. We also like savory Hamentaschen, and I have these ones. These are savory Hamentaschen that with him. You can put it back where it was. Okay, so these are savory Hamentaschen, and basically what they are, I call them bagel Hamentaschen. It's a recipe I got from a friend of mine, and I tweaked it a little bit. But basically what you do is you make a dough, and you don't put any sugar in it, but you put shredded Havarti cheese and some dill. And then you roll out your dough, cut them in rounds. And for a filling, you make a filling of whipped cream cheese, chopped lox, chopped green onions, some lemon juice, and some bagel seasoning. And you mix all that together, and then you put that in the center of your rounds, and then you fold them over just like a Hamentaschen. And then you take the top and you make an egg wash out of egg and just a little bit of water, and you beat that really well. And you paint the egg wash over the top, and then you sprinkle it heavily with bagel seasoning. And then you've got this delicious savory Hamentaschen. So for people who would like something savory rather than sweet, I found that these are delicious.
Lori, could you use apple juice instead of the pineapple juice?
You probably could. It's not going to be as acidic as the pineapple juice, but it's definitely worth trying. I haven't tried it with apple juice, but you certainly could try it.
Bonnie, you were saying something, but you were muted.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Bonnie, okay.
Yeah, so I was asking the same question. So the dough, you can make it the same, even for except for leaving out the sugar to make it savory. You would use the juice too?
No, in this dough, actually this one, like I said, I'll forward the recipe to you, but it's flour, and you use a lot of butter in this one. You use like 2 sticks of butter, and you cut them up in cubes, and it's got flour and salt, the butter, and I put it in my food processor, and I run it. It'll incorporate the butter into the flour, and it makes it nice and crumbly. And then I add my cheese and pulse it a few times, and then at that point in time you add ice water. So it's somewhat like a pie crust, but it's not exactly. And anyway, that's the flavoring you get with this one.
Beautiful.
Thank you, Lori.
Lori, we have to run, but thank you.
Well, thanks for everybody attending, and I appreciate it.
Can't wait.
Like I said,
I have one more question, if you don't mind, Lori.
not at all, please.
So when you fill it, it doesn't change the way it cooks according to how wet it is or anything like that?
I haven't seen that when you fill it that it makes any difference, because I've done this with several different kinds of doughs, and even doughs that were a little bit wetter. The filling part doesn't change at all. It just depends on whether it holds its shape. If your dough's really wet, then it tends to spread out more. Like when I did the oil dough, it held together really well, but when I baked it, the cookie was tough.
When I measured the shortening, I thought 4 ounces is a half a cup, and I measured it, like liquid measure, 4 ounces. And you said you weighed it. So I'm wondering if that changed things.
Well, it could, but basically I use a half a cup plus 1 tablespoon. So
Okay.
it's a huge difference.
Okay, that helps me, because I had no idea about liquid versus solid. Oh, and I couldn't find regular Crisco, so I used that vegan Earth Balance stuff, which is vegetable shortening.
Oh, but the vegan Earth Balance has a lot of water in it.
Oh, that may be why mine's more crumbly too.
Yes. You probably could use coconut oil rather than the vegan Earth Balance, and that would give you a better texture.
Yeah, I wasn't at a big grocery store. I was at Trader Joe's, and they sure didn't have Crisco. So there you go.
They have all kinds of specialty things, which is a fun place to shop.
Oh, absolutely. Lori, I can't thank you enough. It's so exciting to have real homemade Hamentaschen this year. Ooh, ooh.
It's a pandemic forum, but there's no reason you can't have delicious Hamentaschen to celebrate.
Thank you,
Yeah.
Lori.
Thank you, everybody, for joining, and I appreciate it, and I will talk to you all later. And Ellen, I will forward the savory recipe to you that you can share.
That looks scrumptious.
All right.
Looks really good.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you.
Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye. Okay.
Where are we? There we